Hey, it's Aaron, and today I want to talk about a very luxurious high-end car. This is the Mercedes E53 Hybrid. Hybrid actually, in this case, actually means plug-in hybrid. This is the E-Class plug-in model, and it is exceptional. It's luxurious, of course, with the what you would expect from Mercedes in terms of the high-end cabin setup and treatment, the high comfort that happens in all of the seating spaces, and just the overall look and feel and drive quality of the car. When you put the car in comfort drive mode, it is a gliding, happy machine. You can put it in sport, get a little stiffer, do a little more with it. It is a big sedan though, so, lots of standard equipment in this, of course, because you are paying a pile of money for this. Starting price on this is $89,000. There are no trim levels, it's just options if you want to add them. So that is your price, and then you add options. That's it. It's a beautiful, beautiful car though for that price. There are a couple of things that are kind of downers for this, but I think people buying in this category probably won't care. The biggest one of those is just that trunk space is fairly limited in this car. It is not a huge trunk like you would expect, because Mercedes seemed to prioritize the front and back seating, the passenger space, over that trunk space. Most buyers in this category, like I said, probably don't care about that. The size of the trunk is good enough for most people, I think. So I wouldn't worry too much about that as a downer, and it is the only big one I could come up with. Everything else on this car is sweet. So the plug-in hybrid setup on this gives you about 40-ish, I think it's rated at 42 miles of all-electric driving. I got around 40 most of the time, so slightly under, slightly over, somewhere in that range, depending on how thick your right foot gets. The more you push, the less you're going to get out of that electric range. But, this is a fun car. You got 577 combined horsepower to play with. It is a lot of fun to drive this car, especially when you want to push it. It's also really fun to just glide along in this car. It's a beautiful setup. The infotainment system is really good. I've seen reviews where some people panned it and didn't like it. I don't understand why, because it's super easy. MBUX is a really great setup, and for most things you can just talk to it. You don't even have to touch anything or push any buttons or worry about it. Being able to do things like navigation on the fly and stuff by just talking to the system is really great. So I don't know what people were having issues with. I had no issues at all. It was really easy to use. Now there are sportier options than this. If you want to really get into some sport driving, you mostly have to get away from the plug-in hybrid, and you have to go to the new CLE class, which is replacing the rest of the E-Class models. So you do have to go somewhere else if you really want sport driving. But I would say that most people who are in the market for a luxury car of this size will probably be more than happy with the E53 Hybrid, because it just drives really nicely. The weight balance is great on this, thanks to those batteries and some other stuff. So fuel economy is something people might be thinking about with this car. That is kind of the reason to get a plug-in hybrid. So if you drive it judiciously, you might get around 30 as your combined number. Most people are probably going to be in the 25 to 27 miles per gallon range. It's rated at 27, I believe, combined. Most people are going to be somewhere in that window because, again, it is a little bit hard to drive this car and not push the right foot down at pretty much leaving every stoplight, stop sign, etc. Because it's just that 577 horses is just nuts in a car this size, and it just feels really good. So with the E53, What you're looking at is a 3-liter turbocharged 6-cylinder and a plug-in hybrid system, electrified system. Total is 577 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque. You get most of that early because of the electrical system, because you're using the motors to get started. There's no wait for the turbo to kick in, so you get all of that stuff almost right off the bat. It accelerates beautifully and it gets to top speed very, very quickly. Now, I didn't do any 0 to 60s in this, but I think you could probably pull off sub 5 second if you really, really wanted to, depending on where you're doing that and how good you are at it. So, like I said, there are no trim levels to the 53, but there are a bunch of packages. I would recommend the driver assistance packages because it has the better cruise control setup. It has evasive steering and some other safety equipment added, and it has blind spot intervention, which could be important to some people. I will say that visibility in this car is okay. It is not the best, but it's not terrible. The mirrors are barely good enough size, and the look out the rear view because of the slope is not as clear as it could be. But again, it's good. So it's okay for most people. But some of these add-on systems might help with that and alleviate a little bit of the concern you may have with the lack of vision that you might expect especially if you're coming out of a bigger car like an SUV or something like that that has much bigger side mirrors. This will feel a little less visible. The other thing I would recommend if you are looking to add on to this car would be the Airmatic package. The Airmatic package adds the air suspension, which is a really good addition to this car, but it also adds the rear wheel steering. The rear wheel steering makes this car feel much smaller and more nimble. And so for maneuverability or for a more sporty feel and to make tighter turns around the corner or whatever at an intersection, this is a great package. Mercedes has perfected rear wheel steering. I've used it now in many of their vehicles, and in this one it just feels really good. So again, price tag is a little over $89,000 for this AMG model, of course. E53. It is a really good setup. So that's it. That's the AMG E53 Hybrid from Mercedes-Benz. It is a really great plug-in hybrid sedan that focuses as much on or more on the sport and comfort than it does on fuel economy, so it doesn't feel like it's lacking anywhere. So that's what I got. This has been Aaron. Talk to you again soon.